Hey guys, this is for the Module 3 discussion. For Chapter 3, one theory that I like is the bureaucratic theory. The theory is explained starting on page 68 by Max Weber, who defined bureaucracy as the ideals to which organizations should aim and aspire. I think that is beautifully put because some organizations are, shady and unethical. I like this theory because the way it's written seems like it's there to protect workers and the organization while making them work together in unison. One example is that all formal communication, rules, policies, regulations, behaviors, anything like that is recorded and then actually accounted for. Uh, kind of an example I have of this is at Taco Bell. We had a policy like this where anything formal was written out and signed by all the people present and then scanned to the corporate office. And that way there was a digital copy and a physical copy, in two different locations. Or sometimes we even had a third party person kind of sit there just to hear the discussion play out and, kind of witness any sort of verbal agreement that might have happened. And I mean, this can be applied to other companies that aren't doing it to help maintain understanding as policies or tasks change. I thought it was kind of a good idea. Because as long as everyone kind of, like if you're at a company and you have meetings and there's a policy change, for instance, you could have at the end everyone signs a piece of paper, or at the beginning everyone signs paper to just, show that they were there, that they heard it, that they saw it, just that they're aware that changes were being made and that changes happened. Another theory that I like is Douglas McGregor's both Theory X and Theory Y, but specifically Theory Y. I was not too fond really of the Theory X, and I'll explain why in a little bit. I think that it's important to believe in your workers and have faith that they'll do the right thing. I've worked in a few different organizations with people of all ages, ranging from high schoolers up until people who are getting ready for retirement or have actually actively retired. When I worked at Taco Bell, so just I don't know if I've mentioned this or not. I used to work at Taco Bell. I worked there for like 6 years or something. I've worked everything from being from a customer to starting out as a team member all the way up to being a GM. So I've got a lot of Taco Bell stories. I've seen a lot of stuff happen. Anyways, so when I worked at Taco Bell, there was a lot of young adults, a lot of high schoolers, and they actually kind of fit a mix of both of the theories, X and Theory Y. I had high schoolers who wanted to do as little work as possible and just get a paycheck. They just wanted to be there, show up, and didn't really want to do anything. They just wanted to get paid. And, they weren't really self-starters, and they had to be told, or, I'm sorry for a better term, reminded of what to do constantly. They were, what I would say was more on the Theory X oriented side of things. Where I work now, though, is a good group of people who, a lot of them are actually in their 50s and 60s. They're starting to get close to retirement, but they're some of the hardest workers that I've ever seen. They get up and they go to work just, they get there, they start working immediately. They might have a cup of coffee or something, but they, none of them have ever come like either right on time or late. They're always there early. They don't really need direction as everyone kind of knows what their tasks is, kind of knows what to do, and they just kind of go do their thing. And, whenever something gets broken, it's up to them or up to us to kind of get together, brainstorm, and find creative solutions. And anytime that like we have a big project or something that kind of like one person has something that kind of requires more hands on deck, we don't just, make them go by themselves. We all kind of pitch in and help out, and everyone's just, willing and happy to do so because it makes the workload easier for everyone in the long run. So that kind of scenario, I feel like, is more on the Theory Y category. Depending on the organization, I do think that both theories can be effective, but just from my personal experiences, I feel like I've seen more productivity out of my coworkers or out of my, fellow peers who have kind of fallen under that category Y theory. However, those who I did work with, like at Taco Bell, the organization is kind of more set up in a Theory X way, where you have a manager who tells you what to do, you're expected to report to them. So it's kind of set that way where they don't really allow you to kind of bloom or be creative in your own way. You just go in, you do the same thing day in, day out. And it's not to say that, the workers there were bad. Don't get me wrong, there are bad ones, but there's also a lot of good ones too. And I just think that if an organization allows more room for self-direction, or self-starting, you could potentially see a new side to your coworkers. And like I said, some places like Taco Bell don't really, the organization doesn't really build for that. It's built for you to go in, do your job, report to your manager, be told what to do next, kind of. Excuse me. For chapter 4, I liked the post-positive realism theory, where organizations have an objective existence that's independent from the people in them. I like this because I think that it's true. People come and go in an organization, but for the most part, the organization stays around and just will keep functioning. It, not to say it's self-sustaining, but people come and go. It happens at a lot of places. Like call centers have a lot of turnover. Fast food has a lot of turnover. And again, I'm gonna beat the death out of this. Like Taco Bell, I've seen hundreds of people come and go. I've hired dozens of people. I mean, it's just kind of the nature of the beast. Another theory that I liked from chapter 4 was the post-positive systems theory, which the excuse me, which the book describes as a metaphor of the organization as a biological organism. So rather than an organization being like a machine that can function on its own, the organization is like a biological organism that survives by interacting with input and output from its environment. So an example of this is where there is like an exchange. So if you go, okay, you're going to love me for this. So if you go to Taco Bell through the drive-thru, you exchange your hard-earned cash for food to be given to you. Seems pretty simple and pretty forward. However, the back end of this exchange that you don't really see is the fact that, that food had to be grown. Then that food had to get harvested, put on a truck. That truck had to deliver the food to the store. And then the box had to be opened. The food had to be prepared. It had to be put on the line. Someone had to take your order, ring it up, and, then be there to take your payment and then hand you the food after it was made on the line. So in order for what seems to be a simple exchange of you pay us, we give you, your food ready to go as quick as possible, that there's a lot of back end things that kind of have to go to make that happen. And I think it was table 4.1 on page 105. I think personally gives some good examples of other traits that could apply to any other scenario or similar scenarios. One theory that I was indifferent on was the structuration theory, because it seems like there's a lot of different hats that it can have or that it can wear depending on where it's applied to. So on page 107, the book explains how structure refers to the interrelationships between practices. So this would be kind of how like sick leave is handled or purchase orders are processed, meetings being conducted. It seems like there's so many different ways or things that this can apply to that it makes it kind of hard to wrap my head around, because I feel like you could either create more scenarios or, maybe not have as many scenarios. But I mean, maybe that's also what makes it a good theory in the end too, is that, it does have many applications across the board, but I don't know, to me just, so then for the use case, I think that using the bureaucratic theory, you can understand the case from last week by, I don't know I'm going to butcher his name, but Henry Fayol's approach. This is the approach that there is essentially a unity of one goal, one plan, one leader, orders from one person, a set schedule, set resources, set workers. Everything's just kind of, set in structure, unified. One is kind of what it boils down to. So I look at this article with this mindset and see how Merck tried to kind of later down, where he tried to fudge some of the numbers with his marketing department. He had his marketing department design, pay for, and carry out basically a study that says the, I'm going to butcher this too, Vioxx, however it's pronounced, had no cardiovascular risks. Merck is, in this case, the one unified leader in the instance that he's trying to make his product seem better than it actually was, that he had his own marketing team. Basically, he funded it and set it up and told them basically what to do, what was going to happen. And that's just kind of the scenario that I picked out of that. So, thanks, guys.